Hello, I'm Mike.
And my name's Carl, and this is episode 2 in the series regarding characters and classes. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed episode 1. It was a lot of fun doing that with the mercenary. And today we're looking at Pain Reaper. So Mike, do you want to take it away?
Yes. Yeah, so this is the second of 6. This one is a bit of a difference from the first guy. We're not cold-hearted dwarves anymore. We're looking at these imposing
yeah, they're looking a bit
creatures.
Scary, these guys.
And I mean, Pain Reaper is not exactly conjuring fluffy bunnies. So again, this one was announced back in December, so this was an earlier announcement.
Born in a world of demons, dreadful Pain Reapers cast terrible curses upon their enemies, leaving them to rot alive. Spurred on by the flames of hell, Pain Reapers bring about massive destruction with their fire magic and torment enemy souls with their crescent blades.
That was really good, that.
Scary.
I was a bit scared. Yeah, it was very scary. Yeah.
Good. So that's what these guys evoke to me, looking at them. They've got horns. They've got glowy green bits in the chest.
They've got a little Bane mask on, haven't they?
Yeah, the lady demon there's got a floating skull in her hands. A bit different. So, like in the previous one, we're going to go through each of the 3 classes within the character of Pain Reaper. We'll go through the special abilities, then we'll go through the skills to give everyone an overview of what characters they might want to try out and play. So, without further ado, the first one that they've got are the Pyromancer. Ranged mages, masters of casting destructive fiery spells with the help of a magic orb and create portals to control enemies. As they use their abilities, Pyromancers gradually heat up, empowering their abilities and increasing their damage dealt to enemies.
So that magical orb there could be what she has in her hand there.
Could well be, yeah.
So that you might have, and I imagine you can change the look of that with your character and stuff like that, which would be
I would highly expect so. Yeah, it could literally be a magic orb, or it could be that's her enemy, a previous ex. I don't know. Tell me. So we'll go down to the special abilities, so it'll help make the heating up thing make a bit more sense. So every spell the Pyromancer casts gives them heat, which gradually fills up a heat meter. So similar to kind of the Berserker Mercenary, this is an building up rather than a depletion of a resource. You can see when you reach the yellow zone, when the heat meter gets to 50% basically, and this grants all Pyromancer abilities bonus effects. So obviously when we go through the 4 skills above, it'll trigger that if they're above the 50. Now reaching the red zone, which is at 100% of the heat meter, the Pyromancer's abilities do 30% more damage. Good output, good increase. Yeah. However, using any ability in the red zone, additionally causing an explosion that deals magic damage to the Pyromancer. So they're really hot. And whilst they're inflicting 30% damage more with their skills, which is fantastic, they are kind of sacrificing a bit of themselves, burning themselves to kind of pull this off.
Yeah.
Interesting mechanic. You know, there's a balance there, isn't there, of is it worth hurting myself for this? We'll find out, because I think these guys do some crazy numbers. So their standard attack spell, cast 1.2 seconds. So there is a bit of a cast time before. It's not an instant one. You can see these numbers creep into the 300s, which we didn't see with a mercenary. Mana cost, which we expect, and obviously down. So it throws a fireball. That's classic fireball spell. Magic damage to an enemy. The additional effects of obviously this procs at the yellow zone at 50. The fireball deals magic damage to nearby enemies, and the range is increased by 3 meters.
So you imagine that's sort of the embers from the fireball, don't you? You
Yeah.
hit a target, it'll hit his mates.
Yeah, it's not splashback, but like that kind of,
Yeah.
loose embers. We'll go with loose embers.
Yeah, we'll go with embers.
Yes, not splashback, definitely. But that's pretty cool, and the range increase as well is also a good thing. That obviously, if you are going to be starting to take damage from yourself, being further away from the enemy is probably just a good thing to bear in mind anyway. So that's a good one. Classic skill. I'd have been surprised if we didn't see a fireball somewhere in Corepunk, to be honest. So the second one, the Pyromancer creates a demonic portal for 3 seconds. The portal slows enemies down and starts to pull them in. When the effect ends, the portal deals magic damage, increased by spell power, instantly pulls the enemies to the center and roots them for 1.5 seconds. And the additional effect, if you're in the yellow zone, affected enemies are set on fire and take magic damage for 3 seconds. Pretty cool. I like the idea you're opening a portal to hell, essentially. Those people are kind of being drawn in slowly. They're taking damage from the heat. And when the portal collapses on itself, pulls everyone in, they're stuck there for 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's a good little crowd control thing, this, isn't it?
Yeah, and because not only can it capture the people in that area that you cast, it can potentially stop people from going through that area. So if you put it at a choke point, they have a choice. They have to wait and attack you from a distance, or do they risk going through, trying to get through before it roots them, essentially. So there's a lot of application there. And again, if you're above 50% in your own heat, take damage for 3 seconds. So you're taking damage at the start, you're rooted for half of 1.5 seconds, and you're taking additional damage. So all the while, like you say, you're being controlled because you have to pick where you go in the air. So a very little cool thing that. And who doesn't want to see a portal to hell?
Yeah, I don't know if it's on my bucket list to see a portal to hell, but I'm interested to see it.
Yeah, at least we can rule it out. We say, I've seen it, didn't like it, mate.
Yeah, wasn't for me.
Wasn't for me. So their next skill, which is the E skill, the Pyromancer dashes, leaving a trail of fire for 2 seconds and deals magic damage over time. Reactivating the ability returns the Pyromancer to their starting location.
It's cool. Yeah.
Pretty cool, that.
I've seen that as a way to travel through the world at first, sort of free roaming, you're dashing about, but obviously it's not going to be good for that if you dash once and then you head back the same direction you just came. Yeah,
I mean, you could choose not to reactivate it, and you could get that initial dash. But what is great is if you're being chased, you dash, they have to run through your fire, you pop back, suddenly you're chasing them.
Yeah, I wonder how far the distance is that you can travel from your original starting place until it resets. Do you reckon it's just sort of...
Well, that's a very good point. I guess, so it moves 4 meters, but I guess before the cooldown, maybe?
Oh, right, yeah. So you've got...
So you could... It moves you 4 meters, you run on a few more, but as long as you do it before the cooldown, I guess it remembers that that's where you were. So you could go in and then you hide in the bush, return back and give them the slip, potentially.
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah.
And like I said, so the additional to that is upon dashing, the Pyromancer explodes, dealing magic damage to nearby enemies. So if they're hot on your tail, you're going to make them hot on your tail literally by dashing, but you'll explode initially. To give them something to think about.
I think these guys literally have tails as well, like you said. I think.
Yeah, there's a tail there, isn't there?
Yeah, so if they're hot on your tail, there you go.
Quite literally fantastic. Yeah, and then their R spell is very impressive. I do like. So the Pyromancer calls down a meteor that lands at a target area, so it's a targeted skill. dealing magic damage, stunning enemies in the area for 2 seconds. That's a good stun. If you're over 50%, damage radius is increased by 100. So it's already a meteor hitting. The idea that it'd be twice the size is it's impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
Again, it's got a cast time.
Serious damage.
I mean, look at these numbers here. So yeah, there is a cast time, but 425. If you're in the red zone, you're doing 30% more. And you're stunning the enemies. So you know, if you are taking that damage, if they're stunned, at least you've got a couple of seconds to kind of not take damage from an external source. And I just love the idea that could have this. You've got the additional effect, and it's your last battle cry before you die. So you're in the red zone, you're dealing the damage, you're going to bring down this meteor within the last dying breath. You know, casting it's probably going to kill you. Summon the Gate of Hell as well. No, that's it. Summon the Gate of Hell. They get stuck in. You're like, take this! And you die in a big explosion. Oh, it'd be beautiful to see. So yeah, so that's the Pyromancer.
Very cool.
One heck of a hothead. So, and then the second one is drastically different, like we found in episode 1. These all do play very different, which is fantastic. Because then you're not restricted to picking a character that maybe doesn't have something you actually want to play. So we can see the Soul Eater. So the Soul Eaters opposite are melee assassins who fight with double crescent blades. So not ranged, it rogue, not quite stabby because the crescents are more slashy.
But they're up close and personal, aren't they?
Up close and personal. They can aid their allies by manipulating their enemy's soul energy to their advantage. Soul Eaters create soul shadows to use as their movement anchor, tirelessly hunting their victims. They will not stop until they kill them. Once Soul Eaters identify their target, no one can escape death. So these guys are coming. They're coming and they're going to get you one way or another. Can't stop them. So their special ability. So a Soul Eater's base attacks have a chance to drop a Soul Shard. And picking up a Soul Shard grants the Soul Eater or their allies, so an ally could pick this up if you've got a Soul Eater in your party, a 1 second cooldown on all abilities. So if you've used all 4, you'll get a second off each of them, which is return. The picked up shards return to their owners, dealing magic damage based on the spell power of those who pick them up. Stepping on soul shards. The soul shards. Stepping on soul shards. Enemies destroy them. So if an enemy...
Yeah.
But what this literally means, Carl, is you are hitting the soul out of a person.
Yeah, it's not very nice, is it? It's not a nice thing to do.
You're literally... you're eating them. This is how I envision it. Just taking
Little
a bit
Skittles.
of their soul. Candy.
Like
And not only that, because you have consumed it in whatever your chosen way is, it then, that little damaged soul returns back to the owner and hurts them even more. So not only have they just been slashed in the face with a crescent blade, bit of a soul's left them, they've gone, this will help me get better and be better. Yum. And then they've gone, oh, that hurt as well. Mad.
Horrible.
Very sinister.
Horrible.
Very sinister, the fact that you are literally knocking the soul out of someone and turning it into a crystal. Let's see how it applies to the skills of the Soul Eater. So their Q skill is instant, range of 5, decent damage numbers in the mid 200s there, 12-second cooldown. The Soul Eater leaps in a direction, so obviously you can pick where that is. It's a targeted one. The first enemy they collide with is rooted for 1 second, so that means they can't move. And the Soul Eater strikes them with 3 quick stabs, dealing physical damage and applying on-hit effects. So you jump onto them, you hit them, slash. They can't move. They have to just accept that that's what's happening. And all the time you can potentially chip a bit of their soul out of them. So a nice opener skill. You know, like if you're initiating combat, that's a very good little thing. The next one we've got here is a second cast time, range of 3 meters, does some damage, which will make sense in a second. Again, 12 seconds cooldown. What this does is it creates a soul shadow, so a shadowy version of yourself. And upon recasting, the Soul Eater teleports to the soul shadow's location. So it's an anchor point, like it said. Put it at the back of the battle, put it to the side. You start there, you run in, you do what you need to do, and then when you need to retreat, you just click it and you'll go back to where the shadowy version of yourself is. Pretty cool, that. Yeah. Similar to the Pyromancer in some respect, but it's got a lot more freedom in the sense that you could put it in a bush hidden out of the way, and they ain't going to be able to trace where you've gone.
Exactly.
You come in, slash, gone.
Be a nuisance.
Be a nuisance, exactly. And the Soul Shadow detonates on contact with the Soul Eater. So if there is someone around the shadowy version of yourself, it will do damage to them as you return to that, and it kind of explodes. And again, like I say, we're not quite as high damage, but still doing damage for just going back to where you want to be. Yeah. Pretty nice little extra perk, I guess. So that's a good one. The E skill, instant cast this time, 4 meter range. You can see there's 2 damage bits here. There's a damage and a cleave damage. Second, cool. 7 seconds. So what does this do? Well, the Soul Eater lunges, stabbing with its crescent blades, dealing physical damage to all enemies in a line. Obviously got 4 meter range. Anyone within that can hit them. The cool thing is if the ability hits at least one enemy, it can be recast, and the Soul Eater cleaves forward, dealing physical damage to all in a cone. It's a pretty cool combo, this.
Yeah.
But, you know, you might have a couple. As long as you hit one with the blade initially, you then leap forward and do a outward cone damage for further damage. And you can see these numbers. Initial is in the hundreds, but that additional cleave damage
can do some serious damage.
And it's to everyone within that. It's a great way of putting a few people in their spot at the same time. So again, pair that with the shadow portal. You come in, hit one of them, cleave them, poof, I've gone.
Ace.
Nice and easy. I like that. I do like that. I like the application that you can apply for the combos there. And then you've got the R skill. So this is their kind of powerful skill, if you will. The Soul Eater chooses a target location, and after a short delay, creates a cage there.
Yeah.
Enemies trapped in the cage take magic damage, and trying to pass through the edge of the cage, they are stunned.
Yeah, another sort of crowd control one, isn't it? You can see that Pain Reaper's going to control the battlefield a bit, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or she.
But in a sinister way, because they're going, you can leave. I've put you in a cage, mate, but you can leave. Don't you? Yeah, you leave if you want to. Your choice. But if you do, you're stunned for 2 seconds. So again, it's giving the illusion of choice to the enemy. Same with the portal. They can go through it and they'll take a bit of damage, and if they get out in time, but if they don't, they might get rooted. So it's that kind of like, haha, you thought you got away kind of idea. And again, if the ability hits at least one enemy, so similar to the cleave above, it can be recast. The Soul Eater throws their blades in a target direction, dealing physical damage to all enemies they hit in the path.
Wow.
So, again, you've got the cage damage, and then if you hit at least one enemy, got blade damage. So you've trapped them in the cage, you've hit them, that's good, and then you basically go and
You know what?
throw your
Bang.
blades at them. Stay in the cage if they're trying to escape.
Get back.
Well, that actually does tie in, because if they are escaping and they get stunned, that's the perfect time to use you, because you know they're not going to be moving for seconds. So
Exactly,
you're gonna hit them with
him.
that higher level thing. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like that. That's really cool.
Very nice.
So again, very different from the Pyromancer. A
Very
nuisance. Cool. I think, did you say a nuisance? A pest.
I did say
a plague
pest.
upon the land.
That's it.
But fantastic. Come in, do the damage, disappear if they want to. Very good. And also, whilst knocking the soul out of them, the living soul out of them. Love it. Absolutely love it. So their final one for the Pain Reaper is the Warlock. And I'm sure they're not going to be sinister or twisted in any way at all. So what are they? So they are mages, similar to a Pyromancer. However, they're highly skilled in damage over time curses. They can create tethers with enemies to deal damage or allies to heal them by sacrificing their own health. The Book of the Dead is their primary weapon.
That's cool.
What harm has ever come from the Book of the Dead?
Maybe that'll be like one of them orbs that you have, so you're just floating around with this book open.
A dusty old tomb. It would look sick, that though, wouldn't it? Just kind of invoking like old ancient curse texts.
Exactly.
So we'll look at their special abilities, shall we? Let's have a look. So we've got here, for every active damage over time debuff on the enemy, the Warlock's spell power increases by 5%. Considering they're all about damage over time, I can imagine you can probably apply a couple of these just to boost your spell power, which in turn does more damage. That's pretty cool. So it pays to keep these little damage over time bits on multiple people, I would guess. So you're benefiting from them overall. And then for every active buff on an ally, the Warlock is 5% more efficient healing. Because they said there, they have a choice of buffing allies or doing damage. So that's the other side of that, I guess, in the healing efficiency. And upon activating the special ability, the Warlock sacrifices 20% of their current health. So not overall, that's what they've got at that time of activation. And it will then shield them for 300% of what was sacrificed.
Oh.
Pretty good.
So you're getting quite a big return there.
Yeah. And it lasts for 5 seconds there, you can see, and it increases your movement speed by 30. So they're a bit more nimble. You are taking 20% of what health you've got. So if you're already towards death's door, 20% can be quite a lot of your health.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more health you get, the more you technically lose, but then you're getting 300% of that as a shield. So there is an inherent benefit to having that, and that is on a 120 second cooldown.
That's the longest cooldown we've seen so far.
Yeah. It's obviously got a very good application. So if we look at the spells, we'll probably see why it's so powerful, I guess. But let's have a look. So if we go back up to the top there and we look at the Q skills. So we've got the Warlock launches a magic chain in a direction. So again, it's a targeted skill, this. It creates a tether between themselves and either an enemy or an ally. So you've got a choice there. There's applications for both. The tether lasts 10 seconds. If the distance between the Warlock and the target exceeds 8 meters, the tether is broken. The Warlock can base attack and use other abilities when the tether's active. Very short cast time, so it's not instant, 0.2 of a second. And as long as you and the enemy or you ally don't break more than 8 meters, tether 10 seconds. So you can see there, a tether with an enemy deals magic damage over time. The damage increases. So the longer into that 10 seconds you are, the more damage it's doing. So
Exactly.
holding that tether is actually quite important. See here the damage sliding scale into the 300s. So
Yeah, if you can keep that going, you're getting big damage going.
big damage. And if it's ticking, if it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like these are all lots of damage. If it's an ally, it sacrifices. So the Warlock sacrifices their health, but additionally heals the ally. So you can see here your health sacrifice. Initially, I don't know if this is a typo here, but initially, so the first initial sacrifice is 165, and then the first tick is 80.
Yeah, so it must start big to give you that initial boost, and then drop back down to slowly tick up for as long as you do.
The initial sacrifice. But you can see there, proportionately, you're always healing more than what is sacrificed.
Yeah.
Kind of quite kind, actually. You're giving your health to keep someone else alive.
Yeah.
So maybe Warlocks
this is the
aren't
nicest
bad.
of the classes. Yeah, this is the nice.
Plot twist, who'd have thought it? So up to 10 seconds, but obviously they can break that at any point. So that is a cool tether. That you've got a little bond between your friends or your enemies. The W skill. The Warlock applies a debuff that drains enemy health. It periodically deals magic damage and gives the Warlock equal amount of health and additional healing. It lasts 7 seconds. So this is how maybe you can regain from the Q skill that health you sacrifice to returning whilst damaging the enemy. It's kind of a like Siphon, a leech seed.
Yeah, leech seed for both one time.
So you've got that second cast. Again, not particularly long. Might feel it during the heat of battle. And you can see the damage that it does there. But you gain what you damage. So there is a pretty cool little thing. And again, because it's a debuff over time, the special ability takes into effect there as well. You've got to bear that in mind. And also, you can see there, it can affect 2 enemies. So you can cast that twice to get double healing,
so you can get double health going, So you definitely use that after using that skill above, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Or you could maybe have one before, so you already negating when you cast the Q skill, or you could have them both. So it's a good little application of way of regaining your sacrifice there. The E skill we've got 0.5 second cast time, again 7 meter range, some damage mana costs here. So this is another debuff to the enemy. So again, this benefits them by the 5%. After a 1 second delay, their next basic attack against a debuff enemy strikes the enemy with fear that lasts 2 seconds. Cast it, a second delay, hit them with your hook or a spell or whatever it is. And this inflicts fear, which means they're scared of you. We don't know how fear is implemented yet. Again, the 101, we talk about fear and what it is, but potentially it could mean they cower in place and don't do anything, or in other applications in MMOs, they just run.
Yeah.
You've hit them and they've just gone, nah!
And leg it.
And just leg it for 2 seconds. Cast that in with a Soul Reaper. Is it Soul Reaper? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
So when they've got them in the prison and you hit them and they've got to run.
Oh no! What they Soul?
It's Soul Reaper.
Soul Reaper? No.
They're called Soul Eater.
It's Soul Eater. Yeah, we're mixing the Pain Reaper and Soul
Pain Reaper. Yeah. So you could actually inflict the fear whilst they're in the fiery portal
Oh yeah, and then
stuff
push them out.
and push
Yeah.
them out potentially. So there's combos to be had. There's synergy again. We're seeing it. Like with the mercenary, there is definite synergy here within the Pain Reaper class. So when the fear effect is activated, the ability can be recast on an ally, binding their souls to an enemy. So you do it, they go, I'm scared. But then if your fellow ally is also fighting someone, they can then use essentially the same thing and inflict fear on their enemy.
Target, yeah.
Which is
that's cool.
That's pretty cool. So you suddenly become a scary foe. When the fear effect expires, debuffs are triggered. They deal magic damage over 10 seconds, reduce movement speed for 3. The soul-bound ally is healed for the amount of damage dealt. Okay, so they don't inflict fear, but what they do is in time they are tethered to their enemy, the damage they do heals them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so
you're essentially giving them leech seed, aren't you, there?
Yeah, so make the most of that 10 seconds. And it expires, and then whatever was done in that 10 seconds, they benefit from. Great, that's fantastic. That's a free heal, essentially. It's like, yeah, you keep doing you'll benefit from it in a bit, and then they heal, so obviously then you can focus your attention elsewhere. Pretty cool there. Again, high 200 damage numbers when you get into that top end table there. Small cast time. And then there are abilities. I want to keep saying they're the ultimates, or like their elite skill. So the Warlock's damage over time effects explode on all affected enemies, dealing magic damage per effect. So you can do 2. There was the one above that you could cast on 2 enemies. Got the Q, that's another one, so that's 3. So it deals damage per effect on them. So the more you got on them, the more damage they're going to take. And for every active Warlock healing effect, allies restore health. After the explosion, the effects remain on their targets. So this is kind of an empowering boost. You've got damage over time curses on people. You've got the siphon links between allies, keeping them alive whilst you're sacrificing a bit of your health. What this does is a big kind of surge, so you get the benefits of the damage of debuffs and the healing, but it doesn't strip them of the skill. So if there's still 7 seconds left when they still use that skill afterwards, this is just kind of like shoving a rocket up the skill's bum and just making it just amplify. And you can see here potentially 130 per debuff and 175 per healing effect.
Lovely.
Very good. It's quite a small cooldown there as well.
Yeah.
Potentially. So yeah. And again,
Pain Reaper.
we're talking with this as well.
Yeah.
You know, there is a balance again. A balance seems to be the theme of Pain Reaper, of do this, but you do need to be careful you don't set yourself on fire and burn to death, or give too much of your life.
Yeah.
So an interesting class. What are your kind of final thoughts on the Pain Reaper?
I'm into the Pyromancer. Yeah, I like the idea. I've always just enjoyed the idea of chucking them flame balls. And the meteor just sounds so cool, doesn't it? I want to be in a battle and just bring it down.
Just bring that down. The cause of destruction that could be, like, say, if you're in a battle with a lot of enemies, you know, like someone with quite a few ads or something, increase that, hit that 50%, get in that slightly spicy zone, potentially do quite a lot of damage and wipe out. Like, if you've got a lot of low levels, wiping a lot of them out for meteor, pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
What's the next episode? Do we know which the next class is after this in that list?
We'll be going on to the Warmonger.
Ace.
The next one. This is a class that excites me myself.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked about the and stuff. But yeah, so we'll dive into that next time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for everyone tuning in.
Yeah, cheers for watching. If you have liked it, please like, subscribe. It lets us know we're doing the right thing. Yeah, and tell us if you like this class. Get in the comments.
Yeah, let's have a discussion. Join us on the Discord as well. We've got a link to Discord where we can have further discussion on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, we like the speculation and the hype surrounding Corepunk, so this is
certainly.
But yeah,
certainly.
cheers for watching.
Thank you. Bye.